On this episode of the Oklahoma Breakdown with Ikard and Lehman, presented by Riverwind Casino, OU stuff. We react to some of the things we heard from Brent Venables in his press conference this week. Then Bob Stoops joins us to talk some XFL and some OU to the SEC. And we finish up with our winners and losers of the weekend. Please download and subscribe to the podcast, rate it 5 stars, and write us a good review. Follow the show on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Just search Oklahoma Breakdown on any of those, and you'll find us. All right. Our man, Michael Hosty, will kick this thing off. It's time for the Oklahoma Breakdown. It's a beautiful Monday, February 20th, and you're listening to the Oklahoma Breakdown with Ikard and Lehman, presented by Riverwind Casino. Riverwind is Oklahoma City's premier casino experience, and there are so many reasons why Riverwind is consistently voted OKC's #1 casino, but it all starts with their amazing variety of gaming thrills and excitement. Riverwind's beautiful, award-winning environment plays host to more than 2,800 of the latest electronic games with a huge selection of table games, including blackjack, match roulette, and Teddy's favorite, craps. No matter what your game, Riverwind has it in spades and hearts. And all you got to do to learn more about their gaming promotions and entertainment options in the month of February is visit riverwind.com. Riverwind Casino, simply the best. Now recording this early-ish Sunday afternoon. Please leave us a 5-star review and a nice comment. Mr. Lehman, how we doing? Good weekend?
I'm doing fantastic. It's been a good weekend. It's been nice to get some things done around the house, watch some good sports. There's been a lot of good stuff on. We got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, I've watched a little bit of everything. Right?
Yep.
I even tuned in to see the old Speedco Loves Truck Series victory there at Daytona. Yep, Plank texted me. He was like, "Hey, the cars got a good chance of winning. Now it was a rain-shortened race, but a W's a W, Ted."
That's it. You just got to be ahead whenever the race is over, whenever that might be. That's awesome.
Yeah, so we're recording this before the Daytona 500, but hopefully Zane Smith won the Truck Series race, which already happened. Then let's hope Michael McDowell does it again, baby. Come on. Why not?
Love it.
All right, let's get to the OU stuff. You talk about a press conference from Brent Venables with a lot of takeaways. Where do you want to start, man? Because there's a lot to unpack with everything that BV had to say this week.
I think start by just saying that, just like we thought, it's really cool that they did it. Just to get everyone kind of caught up to speed and hear some of these guys' stories individually, hear from BV about like kind of what the expectations are for some of these young guys, these new guys moving forward. So I thought it was awesome. But yeah, we learned quite a bit, man. We got a lot of roster turnover going on, don't we?
Yeah, and him just laying it out there, what was it, 53 of the 76 scholarship players they had for that Alamo Bowl, right? You know, that's right after he took the job. 53 of the 76 scholarship guys they had for that game no longer with the program, right? Whether that's they're in the NFL or they've transferred elsewhere. That is, we talk a lot about, hey, getting guys into your program and developing them, not only physically in the weight room and mentally in the meeting rooms, but just, getting to know each other and developing that bond. Like there's so much of that, even with all the movement that happens in college football now, when it's laid out to you like that with the numbers, man, that was something where you're like, okay, yeah, it's kind of difficult to establish some continuity with that type of turnover, but Oklahoma and Venables would be the first one to tell you, Oklahoma is a no excuses program. Right? You got to win because that's the expectation. But yeah, 53 of those 76, that was something where I was like, damn, I didn't realize it was that much.
Yeah. It's crazy. And, at least we have a big group of new guys coming in this year, but at least they're coming into a program where you've got a solid core of guys that like know what's going on, right? Know what the winter's going to be, know what the spring's going to be, know how you meet, and just the football is one thing, that's just a piece of the day-to-day schedule of what goes on. And to have a lot more guys that just the bulk of your locker room is comfortable with the day-to-day, it brings everyone up to speed much quicker. And, this time last year, there was a whole lot of stuff going on. I don't know how much like football was going on, right? It was mixed in there, but just getting everyone up to speed, coaches, staff, players, obviously everyone just trying to get on the same page of what the expectations are moving forward. Kind of football, you didn't get nearly as much attention as you would like. Not an excuse, just kind of the nature of things. I expect this year to make much bigger strides throughout this portion of the offseason.
One thing that I liked, I'm all about making your expectations for certain players, making those expectations public to naturally create some pressure on guys. Like, I'm a fan of that. I am. It's one of the reasons where I think opening spring practices to fans would be a great idea, so that guys who are in position battles like feel that pressure of people watching them. I like that Brent Venables essentially came out and said, hey, we're bringing in some transfer guys, and if they don't contribute right away, we're going to see it as basically a failure. Right. I am a fan of just laying it out there like that, man. It's like, hey, Dasan McCullough, if you don't do some stuff this season, like, that's going to be a failure. Walter Rouse, and I know you're missing spring with the shoulder, but if you don't come in and start at one of the tackle spots, like, you didn't achieve what you needed to achieve. Like, I feel like it was definitely directed. It seems like it's always directed at the defensive guys with Venables, right? Because that's how his brain is. But I was a big fan of him straight up saying, we're bringing in transfers that need to contribute right away. Like, just lay it out there. It lets them know, it lets the fan base know, and it kind of creates natural pressure on those guys. And I'm perfectly fine with that, because at least they know, like, it's laid out plain as day. There's no mind games being played with Venables and what he expects from these older guys that are experienced, that are coming in as transfers.
Yeah. And, it doesn't just end there. He also mentioned that, whenever he was talking about the linebackers, they've got some inexperience there still. He says he really likes the group, but, as they look at it now, he likes the group, but they are like an injury away from being thin, or perhaps guys not rounding into a position the way that you might hope. And he didn't take it off the table that, they'll be back in the transfer portal post-spring looking for some guys to continue to supplement. So it's not ever going to be over. It kind of reminds you of the NFL, right? Even during the season, the offensive line, or, maybe the secondary didn't have a good game. Well, guess who's in there working out on Monday morning? A big group of free agent corners are out there on the field going through some drills, and they're trying to find some more guys to put on the roster. It's kind of the same thing right now. It's through all these different portions of the season and off season, you've got the ability to bring in portal guys that can bolster your roster.
Yep. It's a new day and age in college football. And I loved his approach and just how honest he was about that. So there was a lot being made about Venables' comments about the cheetah spot. And boy, do we love talking cheetah. Everyone around here, a lot of cheetah conversation, but brought up 4 names, right? Justin Harrington, who's a guy that has insane measurables, right? But we haven't seen him become the guy that we are expecting him to be. So he mentioned Harrington, Reggie Pearson, the transfer from Tech, Dasan McCullough, the transfer from Indiana, and then Peyton Bowen. So those were the 4 names he brought up. And the interesting part about it, Ted, is because when you think of a position, right? You think of you kind of have a body type in your mind for that position, right? Okay, you're looking for this height, this weight, this kind of skill set, and everyone that's going to be working at that position is going to have a relatively similar physical profile. These guys do not have relatively similar physical profiles. That's what was so interesting to me, and I definitely immediately I was like, I wonder what Ted thinks about that. That's four guys that, pretty different skill sets. Now, maybe Pearson and Bowen, some crossover there and like how they're built, but it's not, hey, this is what this is the specific requirements we want for this versatile position. It was really interesting to hear him mention those four guys.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it is interesting. And you got to back things up a little bit here. And so the cheetah position, what exactly is the cheetah position? The cheetah position is the Sam linebacker, right? Sam linebacker is not a very sexy position, right? Cheetah is a way sexier sounding position, right? And it's the Sam, like that spot in a defense is absolutely critical. It's so critical that back in the day, they started pulling the Sam linebacker out and putting an extra defensive back in there as a nickel. It's the same spot. Sam, nickel, cheetah. It's all the same exact spot. Now, whenever you get into some of the 3-3-5 stuff, some of that changes it up. But, ultimately, as things change, you would like to be able to keep the same body type in at that position. Well, a guy like Deshaun McCullough kind of checks all the boxes, right? He's physical and can play a backer type position whenever the personnel and formation pulls you into the box. Whenever they spread it out, he's able to play over the slot receiver and play in zone coverage, perhaps even in some man-to-man situations. But it's still the Sam / nickel. So it's not surprising to see also Justin Harrington, who's a little more of a safety position. Whenever you play that spot, because of the way people don't run across formation now defensively, rarely do you see that whenever you're playing zone coverage. So what you get is if you get the Sam who's always aligned to the field and you get trips into the boundary, there's no one there for him to cover. So he turns into a deep safety, right? So at that cheetah spot, you can play safety, you can play backer in the box, you can play bumped out of the box on the slot. You can even end up in a lone corner position because of some of the adjustments. So you need guys that are really versatile. But you don't have to stay with that guy at all times, because I do think there's a chance that Deshaun McCullough is a guy that can really rush the passer. And it wouldn't surprise me if, you have third and long packages where he plays a defensive end, where he can rush the passer, and you bring in a guy like a Reggie Pearson, who's a super experienced defensive back that maybe plays that nickel spot, or a guy like Peyton Bowen, if he can get up to speed, a guy that's got some real athleticism there that can maybe cover a slot guy, and you can still get Deshaun McCullough on the field rushing the passer and use one of his real strengths. So there's a lot of versatility there, not just with one individual player, but if you can have multiple guys and body types and specialties there, it makes your defense better.
It's just interesting to hear him talk about that position. And one guy, like you look at Reggie Pearson, is 5'11", 200. And one of the other guys is 6'5", 240. It's just like, wait, what?
Right. That's right.
But that's Venables, he wants to, and he talked about this in his press conference, like he wants to cross-train guys in the back end of the defense, right? He wants everyone to have the overall understanding of all the positions. And that's what makes playing for him really difficult at times. But
whenever it works and it clicks and you understand the entire picture, it's an aha moment to where everything just starts to make sense.
That comment seemed like it came from some experience right there.
Right. Definitely.
Then finally it just comes together.
Comes together. I'll say this too. I think it is also like the depth and kind of different range of body types that we have there. I like it. And I think all of those guys have a chance to be really, really good there. And Venables hasn't said this. No one has said this to me, but it's something that I've still kind of got, that I'm thinking about. Stutzman's going to be, I'll pencil him in as a starter. Like, I don't think that anyone on this team has earned anything just outright, but we expect Stutzman to be a starter and a leader on this defense. Now, he's at the will. The Mike backer spot, that's a different story. Okay, you're talking about Kanik, Kobe McKenzie, Pachotti, your three guys working at Mike. None of those guys have played a meaningful snap of football at that position.
Well, the good part is that position is not very important to the communication of Brent Venables' defense. I tried to say it with a straight face.
Right. Well, so that I'm still thinking about that. And it wouldn't shock me that if that group doesn't come up to speed really quickly, you may see some Deshaun McCullough playing the Mike backer. At the end of the day, if you're backup Cheetah, I expect Justin Harrington to make a big leap this year with the type of player he is. If Justin Harrington's balling at second team Cheetah and your Mike backer position is struggling mightily, I think that's something that you just got to keep in mind there, that you may get some Deshaun McCullough at inside backer too.
Yeah, no, it's going to be interesting to see what that looks like throughout spring practice. It's also interesting starting spring ball a little later, right? Not starting until March 22nd. I like it. I think that
good winter workouts in.
It allows, and clearly the football piece is the most important piece, but this group, you got to be bigger, faster, and stronger than you were last year, man. Right? You got to hold up better at the point of attack. And I know there's a lot of new faces, but allowing Jerry Schmidt a full 8-week run at it before these guys start playing some actual football in spring practice, I like that approach. And I think you can still get all the mental work in, right? And players can still do stuff on their own, right? They can get together on their own for player organized type of stuff. But I just like the emphasis on getting strong as hell, right? Hey, I want you to worry about one thing, getting strong and powerful through winter workouts. I like that as opposed to breaking it up and sandwiching spring ball in between that. I don't know. I feel like it's going to be more beneficial.
Totally agree. And, we talked about it. The amount of new guys, 53 of the 76 scholarship players from the Alamo Bowl no longer here. There's a bunch of new guys, and what do we have? 12, I think, transfer portal guys, plus the early arrival guys. This gives you essentially 3 more weeks perhaps of, even though it's small, just your introductory things that you can do with the coaches football wise. There's not a whole lot. I don't think you can have a football out there, something stupid like that, but
dumb.
It is. It's ridiculous. But just whatever more introduction and slowly bringing those guys on before your live bullets in spring ball, I think that helps. You're going to get your 15 practices in. We might as well push it back as far as possible. What else we got going on? And then try and get up to speed, bigger, faster, stronger as much as we can before we break into that. I like it.
Yeah. So a little different, but I think it's a smart change. Now, the other thing we got to talk about, from the newcomers talking along with BV's presser, a lot of Peyton Bowen content, lot of Peyton Bowen. Let's start with this. You mentioned, hey, will he be able to get up to speed, right, at that cheetah spot? Or, is he going to fit in one of those safety spots? we'll ultimately end up seeing when the season rolls around. But when Brent Venables says publicly that football is easy for you, listen, he's a 5-star safety, so he's clearly physically gifted, right? The 5-star guys are physically gifted, but you never really know where a guy's football IQ is at coming out of high school, right? There's just such a different variation, what program you're coming from, what level you played at, like, were you taught the game the right way? Like, do you have a big understanding? Is it just position focus? Like, you don't know until you get these guys on campus and start talking ball with them. But Venables saying that like schemes are easy for him, that's pretty damn significant for me. Like that, I expected Peyton Bowen to be a factor for them this season, but hearing Venables say that was one where I was like, all right, I'm gonna file that away, because he doesn't throw stuff out there like that very often. Like, hey, football, like this guy just gets football. He understands it. It's easy for him. That carries a lot of weight with me, Ted.
Yeah, it does. He's a 5-star kid, and I do think that he will factor in some form or fashion. But the positions that he's playing are not typically played by freshmen, especially whenever you've got, this is really the first time that we've got some legitimate experience at some of those spots where he's going to be playing. Like Billy Bowman got thrown to the wolves because we just didn't have anyone, right? And that's really not going to be the case with Bowen, at least I hope. It's just so much. It's so hard to play the cheetah position or the safety position. I hope he factors in. Like if he's out there playing, that means that he's really above and beyond, which I hope. But I expect just some little pieces of Peyton Bowen throughout this year. Now that could always change. Like if we come out of spring ball and everyone's like, "Oh my God, this kid, he gets it. He's already able to pick everything up on the fly. He's got it athletically. He's going to factor in right away." Okay, then I'll start to at least crack the door. But I just want to temper everyone's expectations. It's not an easy position to play as a young guy. And I know as a 5-star, everyone's going to want to know, why is he not on the field?
Yeah, but you also got to remember there are a lot of veteran guys he's going to have to beat out to play. We're talking about playing significant snaps, right? Billy Bowman may be the most talented dude they've got. I mean, he had some flashes last season where you're just like, okay, like he could be a real dude at safety. I mean, Key Lawrence is a physically gifted dude. If he can figure it out mentally, tackle a little better in space. Like Robert Spears Jennings, he's a young guy. You talk about looking the part at safety. I mean,
Pearson's coming in. He's a 6-year guy, right?
Yeah.
He's like 24 years old.
Yeah. So I that meant a lot to me hearing Venables talk about Bowen. It got me really excited for what his career could be at Oklahoma. But it was also one of those things where I was like, okay, we'll see how significant of a role he has as a true freshman. But hey, the pressure is what it is on the 5-star kids, right? It's naturally built in when you've got 5 stars next to your name, especially defensive guy, 5-star defensive guy at Oklahoma. We just haven't had many of those, man.
Well, here's what is actually exciting about it. If Peyton Bowen is not able to get on the field, it means that we've got good depth and experience in front of him, and he's not able to just show up as a 5-star and be handed a starting position. That's good. On the flip side, if he does play, you know that he's not just being thrown to the wolves. As a 5-star kid, he's so talented and physically gifted upstairs whenever it comes to the actual football IQ part of it, that he was able to beat out some experienced guys to win that role. That means that he absolutely is legit. So like either way, you feel good about it.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like one of those situations where you're just going to throw him out there to throw him out there.
Right.
Like because there's some veteran guys that, let's be real, they should have a huge leg up on Peyton Bowen when it comes to getting on the field and playing a significant role on that defense. But some guys are just built different, man. We'll see if Bowen's one of those guys right away. But yep. The last thing that I have from everything we've heard from the newcomers and from Venables, the Peyton Bowen time thing. Have you ever heard of anything like that? So if you missed it, Peyton Bowen was talking about his national letter of intent to Oregon, and he said that he actually sent it in, but he forgot to write AM or PM on the time, and I guess never sent a corrected version. If I'm Oregon, I'm like, there doesn't need to be an AM or PM. He's signed. He's ours. Like, but what a crazy story.
It's nuts. To think that I've been trying to figure out like what that actually means. Like, I don't even know. You don't have to, it's not something you have to notarize or anything. Like, I'm shocked that AM or PM was able to like keep that from being official. I didn't understand that part of it, but doesn't matter. I'm sure Oregon's had a staff meeting like, we'll worry about the consequences later. If someone sends something in that doesn't have AM or PM, put it on there.
Just write it on there yourself.
Write it on there. Oh,
but
man.
Hey, that's the story he told. And this is what I know. If he reaches his full potential and becomes, one of the best defensive backs to ever play at Oklahoma, that's his potential, right? It's going to be an awesome story that OU fans will love for forever. And Oregon fans will absolutely hate. But the part of that story that involved Jackson Arnold calling him and about to like give him, like he was building up to the big sales pitch. And he was like, "Hey, dude, I already signed," which is awesome. Yeah. But that entire story, I mean, it's going to follow Peyton Bowen for his college career for sure. So hopefully it's something that, 4 years from now, we can all look back on and go, "Oh, thank God he forgot to write AM or PM."
No doubt. Yeah, that's awesome. It was funny that, what'd he say whenever Jackson Arnold called him? I'm booming. Something like that.
I'm booming with you, bro.
I'm booming. Yeah, that's awesome. Good stuff. That was, and I think that's exactly what, Coach Venables was talking about. Let some of these guys tell their stories a little bit here while we've got some downtime and introduce the fan base to these guys on a more personal level. And I think that's exactly what you got out of that story.
I imagine the Oregon message boards had an interesting time with the details of that story. Got a feeling that didn't go over well in Eugene and among that fan base.
It's like, we're going to pay guys millions of dollars in NIL, which, is really by letter. I don't know. It's cheating, right? These aren't organic NIL deals. We're coming up with a bunch of money to pay kids to come here. That's what it is. We're going to do that, but we're not going to write AM,
that's where we draw the line.
That's where we draw the line.
I can't imagine that story went over well with Oregon fans, but yeah, but it was cool that Venables did that. I was a big fan of it. And let's get to call your shot, because we asked you guys what was the most important thing that happened for OU football this week. And this first one comes from Corey White, who says, Coach Venables making available to the media the transfers and early enrollees. As the college football climate continues to change, why restrict access? And there wasn't any foolish statements. Good move. I completely agree, right? You and I, on our last episode, we said, listen, these guys aren't idiots. They're not going to say anything ridiculous. Nothing bad is going to happen. It's going to be fine. Just it's smart to let them talk to the media. Let the people that cover the team start to get to know these kids. And how about it, Ted? No one died. There's no bulletin board material unless you're an Oregon message board person, probably. But other than that, I mean, it was great. And it seems like the media members loved it and the players loved it. And I think overall it was overwhelmingly positively received.
And it's the middle of February and you get to create a ton of buzz around your program, right? Everyone's needing content right now and, just salivating at a chance to get up there and talk to some of these guys and, put it on TV and write stories and all of that stuff. It's free advertising for the football program. It's a no-brainer. I'm thrilled that he did it. I imagine this is going to be something that we see for the foreseeable future. It's a little bit different than, opening up all of the freshmen to talk to the media maybe the week before OU Texas about what you think of the upcoming game. I mean, that's a little bit different than talking in the middle of February in the middle of winter workouts. So I think it's great.
I'm with you. And I will be stunned if it is not duplicated across the country.
Yeah. I
think with how positively, with how well this went for Oklahoma, I think I don't think it pressures other programs to do it, but you got to believe that other programs around the country are looking at this going, seems like OU's getting an awful lot of positive press from doing that. I'll be surprised if a lot of programs don't start doing it.
Yeah.
And then
I agree.
And then we can say that they copied us.
Copycat league is what it is. No, I agree. And like I said, it's the free advertisement portion of it, right? It makes the most sense to get as much content as you can out there. I don't know how much high school recruits kind of follow the recruiting classes ahead of them, but if you do, and you're seeing a bunch of guys that are early arrivals at OU that are already out there, they're doing that. There's national stories being written and doing a bunch of interviews and stuff. It's not gonna. The fact that you get to talk to the media whenever you first get there isn't going to be the reason why anyone comes to Oklahoma, right? It's not, but it's part of the entire experience, and it's just another little factor in there.
It doesn't allow anyone else to say, hey, they don't let you talk to the media if you go to OU.
Yep.
Which
get that out of the way right now.
Exactly. Let's just get it out of the way. Not true. No, not only do they not let you talk right when you get there. So that's we always have to think of things through the recruiting lens, Ted. Even though we're not huge recruiting guys, like you always have to have recruiting on your mind and what other schools can use against you in the recruiting process.
Yeah. Hey, here's the last thing I got to say about it. This is the fun time, right? You haven't lost a game yet. Everything is perfect. Haven't even started spring ball, right? Everyone is happy and thrilled that you are here. Let's get all the good puff pieces out there that we can, because come fall, the questions could turn differently depending on what the season's looking like.
Hey, why aren't you playing? How do you feel about that? Yeah, no, I'm with you. All right, birthday shout outs time. Happy 7th birthday to Calvin Edison Day.
Happy 8th birthday to Kai Turley.
Happy 8th birthday to Henry Hatton.
Happy 28th birthday to Hunter Smoot.
Happy 44th birthday to Danny Smith.
Happy 50th birthday to Sarah Housley's husband.
Little explanation on that one. She just sent in like, hey, can you wish my husband a happy 50th birthday? There's no name. So you and I, we're known as our wives' husbands anyways. So right. Sarah Housley husband, he gets it. Come on.
That's how he's known. He's used to answering to that. So happy birthday. Happy 50th.
And happy 56th birthday to Brian Mullo. All right, let's talk to Bob Stoops. Little Stoops action. Love it. But first, Love's Travel Stops is now offering a nationwide 10-cent per gallon discount on gas and auto diesel. You heard that right, people. Just download the Love's Connect app and scan your barcode at the prompt on screen and watch that price drop 10 cents per gallon. Across the country, the Love's Connect app unlocks exclusive deals and can help any traveler plan their route or meal on the highway. So before you hit the road, be sure to download the Love's Connect app to save 10 cents per gallon and experience the country's best highway hospitality at Love's Travel Stops. Love's also has you covered if you get your phone charger or headphones with their expanded mobile to-go zone. And of course, don't forget to grab yourself some of that delicious Java Amore.
Opolis Clothing is the exclusive home for all of our Oklahoma Breakdown merchandise. Got the new hoodie.
Oh, show it off. Let's see it.
Yeah,
what are we doing?
It's beautiful. Yeah, check this thing out.
Look at
Very
that.
cool. Oklahoma Breakdown. Tons of compliments. They're already floating around out there in the wild. And of course, it's buttery soft. Go to opolisclothing.com, OPOLIS clothing.com. Use promo code TED, TED for 10% off your entire order. Still get a discount on all of the OU and OKC Thunder gear as well. That's opolisclothing.com. Use promo code TED for 10% off. Buttery soft and 10% off.
All right, here's the head coach of the Arlington Renegades, Bob Stoops. It is our pleasure to be joined by the OU College Football Hall of Fame coach. He was our coach. He's the man. He's also the head coach of the Arlington Renegades in the XFL. About to get the season started. Bob Stoops is in the house, coach. How we doing, man?
I'm doing great, Gabe. Good to be on always with you and Teddy. And back on the sidelines. I can't wait for Saturday.
Yeah, so we're recording this before you guys have your first game of the season, and let's just start here, Coach. What made you want to do this again?
Well, it's just football. It's my job before through college was all those years. 80% of my job is managing everything other than football, academic situations, academic meetings, compliance meetings, recruiting meetings, on and on, or Johnny's homesick, got to get on the phone with parents. And this is just 10 straight weeks of football. Working with a bunch of guys that are just on the outskirts of the NFL. Most of them have been in NFL camps recently or a year ago. And they love football. They pick the game up quickly. And a bunch of really good football players. So really easy to coach these guys. And again, it's exciting, fun football. And Arlington works with my home in Norman and my family for them to come down back and forth. Of course, I'm down here for a few months renting while I'm coaching the Arlington Renegades. So it just fits me, for this point and what I want to do with my life.
I think people forget the logistics in running a football team, from equipment to players and housing and getting people paid. It's a huge undertaking. So what's been different, maybe better, or, second time around, getting this thing kind of going off the ground, as it's not easy and you're getting a bunch of people into a new area. What did you learn from the first and maybe implemented the second time around?
Well, a lot of it's very similar to what we did the first time around. So it makes it a little bit easier, but you got to have the right guys. I've got, Matt McMillan, our operations guy for all my 18 years there, was with us for 19 years at OU, and we work great together. So he has a lot of the logistics, and our player personnel director, Rick Mueller, also does an incredible job with our players and in and out and updating our roster constantly. So it is a little smaller roster, as you and you guys would know. It's a 51-man squad that we're working with 45 active on game day. So there isn't 120 players like we were used to managing. So that part of it makes it a little simpler. But And again, you're dealing with older, mature guys that know how to handle themselves.
So what's the process been like regarding the build up to the season, right? Every team, from what I understand, every team is practicing there in the Arlington area. And then you guys are flying out. Now you don't have to go anywhere, which is awfully convenient for you because, I mean, everyone's there and then you get to stay there and play your home games at the old Rangers Stadium. But how do you feel about the way that is functioning this year? You a fan of it?
Well, everybody here has been working together in a really good way. So, yeah, for practices, we're all here in Arlington. We share our stadium with for practice with Houston, the Houston team, and then we've got 3 other locations. So, we got 4 locations, 8 teams, 2 teams at each, and even at the hotel where we share our hotel with Houston, and it's been great. Wade Phillips is their head coach, so everybody is coordinated well. We practice in the morning, they practice in the afternoon. Then you just flip your meetings, opposite that. So it's really worked well, I think, for our leadership and all our top, our ownership, leadership, everybody, for them to be able to travel around and see everybody without hopping on an airplane and communicate with everybody. Sorry, but then the good part is, as you said, these teams are going to go to their home cities for games, and that'll be exciting for their communities, their home bases, and I believe that's a plus. So basically, everyone other than us will be traveling every week. We get 5 games in our stadium, and I guess if they're playing us at home here, then they don't have to travel that week. But everyone else, though, through the week, that'll be different. But again, it's smart, I think, to get back to the communities, get some excitement in those fan bases. We're all trying to get out in the afternoons, the day before games, to do some charitable work in their communities. So all of that's been, has been received well by the players and coaches.
How about, on the field stuff, X's and O's just kind of stylistically resemble more of kind of what you see on Sundays in the NFL, kind of given the layout of the field, or is there quite a bit of carryover from some college offenses and defenses?
Well, listen, there's a lot of carryover in today's world from college to the NFL in all for the last 5, 6, 7 years. They copied RPOs, screens, all of that stuff. So yes, it's very much like watching a pro offense or a good college offense. It's the same kind of thing, and a defense that's fairly complex but easy to learn.
Looking at the process of assembling your staff, right? Clearly, I saw Chuck Long and Jonathan Hayes, 2 guys you've known for a very, very long time, are going to be your co-OCs. You got Jay Hayes running your defense. Did you just call him and say, hey, guys, you want in? Like, what was that process like assembling your coaching staff for the Renegades?
Yeah, that's pretty much what it was. And I was talking to Jonathan and Chuck first. Of course, they were with me for 5, 6, maybe Chuck was with me 6 or 7 years, Jonathan 4 or 5. We were all on the national championship staff together. Everyone knows we all played ball together at Iowa, and they're very accomplished coaches. So yeah, I called Jonathan and Chuck, and Jonathan, I didn't know might get a head coaching job because he had the St. Louis team, the first go around in 2020. So the conversation is, if you're not going to be the head coach, do you want to come and you and Chuck run the offense? And Chuck, same thing. If you're not going to go with Jonathan to a team, come with us. And they get along, they're best of friends, and we all are very close friends. So anyway, it works really well. And then Jonathan, Jay Hayes, his brother, was his D coordinator the first time around, and worked with Tim Lewis, our other co-coordinator. They've all been together through pro ball and the first time around. So it's really worked well that these guys have all worked together and know how to practice, against one another. All of it has really been great.
You mentioned that, there's a lot of the personnel, a lot of the players have been recently in and out of the NFL, practice squad guys, or maybe didn't make the cut in the last training camp. There's a lot of good football players out there that don't make it on rosters. So just, personnel wise, what are some of the guys maybe to keep an eye out for as they watch you guys take the field Saturday?
Well, I really like our quarterback, Drew Plitt. Threw for a gazillion yards at Ball State. I believe a 4-year starter at Ball State. He's been with a couple of NFL teams, and just hadn't quite been able to, to stick with it. Got other guys. I mean, Jordan Smallwood, really good, OU guy at receiver. We've got some strong running backs. We got Keith Ford back at running back. Some guys on defense, guys like Will Hill, safety, played on Florida's national championship team when they beat us. Really a good player, along with Josh Hawkins at corner. And I really believe overall to our D-line and O-line, and I'll be interested because we haven't seen anybody else, but I really believe they're really strong, both sides of the ball.
So you mentioned you've got a, player personnel director and all that. Like, how did the roster construction process work for you guys?
Yeah. Rick, along with constantly through the fall, the defensive staff, primarily coordinators, studying, watching guys that are available, as well as the offensive coordinators and staff, and in particular, our O-line coach. You trust them, coordinated with the player personnel director, to be evaluating players through the fall, players that are just released from NFL teams, or all of a sudden don't want to play in the Canadian ball anymore, don't want to play in the USFL. When they're available, now we're getting all the video we can of them, watching them play, evaluating their play, evaluating their size, strength, speed, just seeing if they're a fit. And as well as a lot of these coaches know of players from being in these other leagues. So again, really just relying on the assistant coaches and Rick to really know who they want for their positions.
Now, I know you guys are all in the same area and sharing some of the same practice fields and stuff for practice, but I doubt you're exchanging practice tape for scouting the upcoming game. So how does that process been, like, trying to get an idea of what you're going to see on Saturday?
Yeah, you can practice against each other. It didn't work out where we could have for different reasons. And then we had a practice game that we were set to play against Orlando, and then it was when all the 3 days of ice appeared in Dallas area here in Arlington. And I know it didn't quite get that way in Oklahoma, but we had 3 full days of straight ice. So the games in all were canceled. So we really haven't been able to match up against anybody to really get an idea. But, whoever's coordinating in offense or defense, they have a history. And that history generally doesn't change a whole lot. So all these coaches, and we know the background of what their coordinator, where it is and where to get film and tape to study what they really like to do.
Coach, you keep mentioning, like, it seems like you guys are watching a shit ton of tape, man. I mean, like, just trying to, with the players and the schemes and everything. And I know how seriously you take your preparation, right? I remember how seriously you took it when you were coaching us. How did you stay sharp in the off season, like into the buildup and this? Like, what was your process when it came to studying and watching and, like, staying sharp?
First of all, I don't think you can say shit ton on a podcast, can you?
Oh, well, it's
Come
too
on,
late.
Gabe, you got to watch your language. There might
Hey,
be
I
a
let
young
him go,
person.
man. He's a bad influence, but I let him go.
There may be a young person out there listening, but I always, through my time, I've always studied. When I watch games, I'm not just watching the ball run around like most people. I still watch it as a coach, looking at schemes, looking at defenses or blocking schemes or whatever it may be. And then even at Fox, I had to watch a lot of my catapult. I was on that catapult every day. You guys know what that is. You get any game you want anywhere, and constantly watching players and schemes and what coordinators are doing. And then again, so that really wasn't difficult. You don't you don't forget how to ride a bike. You don't forget how to walk. You don't forget how to watch a game if you've been coaching a long time.
Did you guys install the merry-go-round play the Kansas City Chiefs have been running where they all dance around in a circle?
I love it. How about those guys? Boy, we had a bunch of happy Sooners on that team, didn't we?
Yeah. I went to the game, Coach. It was a fun time, man. It was.
Yeah, I'll
Sat with
bet.
Creed's parents.
Oh, that's great. That's awesome. Hey, what a name he's making for himself. Isn't that awesome? He needs to get some kind of beer commercial, is all I know.
He's got a partnership with Boulevard, that beer company. So he is.
I'm sure it's going to become popular.
Yeah, he's going to be really rich very soon, like very, very rich. But
good.
As far as because we are recording this before you guys play your first game. How does this roster compare to the one you had in 2020, right? Because there's been some changes in the league, the ownership group. Like, how do you think the rosters compare?
I think overall through the league, we did a better job overall of getting a bigger and better pool of players. So I think this year we're going to, it'll be comparable, but I think I feel like my team is a lot stronger both sides of the ball than we were in 20. And I think across the league, there was a bigger and better pool of players to choose from.
Yeah, I think the coolest thing is the television partners that you guys have. I mean, that's always critical, and you guys are going to be Saturday afternoon on ABC. That's about as big as it gets.
Especially, the whole world. Surely a good probably 75% of it is disappointed when football's over. All after the Super Bowl, you've watched it all through. Since, late August, and now here we are. So I think we got a perfect window to jump right in the weekend after the Super Bowl with 4 games, 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday, and hopefully it'll be great. But we do have great partnership, ABC, ESPN, all the Disney channels. So it won't be hard to find us.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome, and I can't wait to watch now. The big change between now and the 2020 version of the XFL is the ownership group, right? The Rock is on board. Dude is one of the most famous people on the planet. What's it been like, especially with his background in football, playing at Miami? He understands the game. What's it been like working with him and that new ownership group?
It's been great. They love football. You're right. Not only Dwayne Johnson, but his ex-wife, Danny Garcia, one of their other primary owners, and Jerry Cardinell, part of the ownership group as well. They've been great. They're really down to earth, easy, nice, fun people to be around. They've been invested. They really have a great vision for this league, and are going to do all they can to promote it and push it. And I know they're all going to be at our first game, here in Arlington, here at Choctaw Stadium. 2:00 on Saturday, and I know that the fans will be excited to see them all.
Should have drafted him. It looks like he's still playing out there on the edge a little bit.
Believe me, huge. No doubt, he's huge. He's in great shape, and he works hard at it. He flew in here for some meeting we were all having with them, and they said he was working out in our facility at 4 a.m. the night before, that morning. So anyway, he's going to get his workout in. Doesn't matter what time of night or morning.
I know that you had an incredible time at Oklahoma. You had an incredible amount of success, right? Coaching there, but it seems like you're really enjoying this thing because it's just football and you don't have to deal with any of the other stuff. Do you ever stop and think like, hey, maybe the NFL would have been more for me, especially with some of the changes that we were seeing towards the end of your tenure?
Well, it would be now. Not when, back when, there were some serious conversations I had a couple of times with some other, NFL teams. I felt my yearly schedule, family schedule, the way we worked was better and more positive than the NFL schedule would be through the year. Well, that has all changed now, with year-round recruiting, NIL, transfer portals, they're the NFL model now to me is much better and more attractive than the college model, and so I would have listened a little harder if I was still in it at a couple of those opportunities.
Yeah, well, there's a lot going on. College football's not going to stop changing. We've got a 12-team playoff coming, and I guess the big news around here is it's official that Oklahoma is now headed to the SEC in 2024. What'd you think of that news when it came out?
I anticipated it all along. I think all parties need to get on and move along down the road. So I thought it would be good for the remaining Big 12. I knew it would be good for us. So it's just coming to the right agreement, and I believe they did. Just think of the fan excitement now for the Norman, Oklahoma, filling that 85,000 seat stadium and all those suites and all. You think they're going to have any trouble selling those when Florida's coming and Alabama, LSU, whoever? I mean, on and on. It's going to be exciting. It's different. But I think it just financially ensures our future, our entire athletic program for decades to come. And all that extra revenue, you got opportunities to help every other sport on campus, men's and women's. And that's a positive. And it's going to make a big difference, I believe, in the long run for us. Sure, everyone, games will be tougher. Sure. But you look at our history through the years, you guys know, we played everybody, in non-conference schedules. Heck, I want to say one year, I forget who, I want to say we had Oregon and Alabama or something along those lines. So, we understand that. But I think overall it's going to make us stronger and better as a football program and, of course, an athletic program.
Some people seem to think OU's going to get to the SEC and just become irrelevant, Coach, right? The comparison people want to make is Nebraska and what's happened to them since they got to the Big Ten. What's your reaction to some of that stuff that people are saying, that OU's just kind of going to float off into the abyss?
I think it's ridiculous. If you look at our record against current SEC teams, look at our record against them over, in the last 15, 20 years. And that's what we're looking at is the next 10, 15 years, right? So all you got to do is pull it up. And our record against them overall is the current SEC teams. And, it's pretty strong. And that includes A&M and Missouri, right? Everyone wants to say, well, wait, that's not there. Let's wait. Only talk about when they were in the Big 12. Well, listen, they're still Missouri. They're still A&M. They're still whoever. And our record through the years has been pretty positive against everybody. And so anyhow, we're not going away. I think it's going to make us stronger.
Yeah, I agree. I think it is going to make us stronger. I feel like Oklahoma's always played their best football whenever they're tested the most. And you mentioned like a lot of those big games, whether they're bowl games or non-conference games and big opponents going on the road, seems like we play our best football. And I think it helps with that. And also I do think that there's going to be, it seems that, A&M and, the schools that have joined the SEC got a bit of a recruiting bump. And I don't know, I feel like it's always been used against Big 12 teams, like the NFL numbers and stuff coming out of the SEC, but they're not going to be able to use that against you anymore.
No, that's exactly right. And I think it's going to make a difference. Look at our recruiting even this year, after a tough year. And so anyway, and I go back to, my last two of my last three. We beat Auburn my last game in the bowl game. We beat Alabama a year or two before that in a bowl game. Lincoln takes Georgia, who's now dominating, but just his first year, I think, they go to double overtime in the Rose Bowl, right? So it's not like we went up against Georgia and got, heck, at halftime, we're a couple scores ahead. So, it's not, OU isn't going away. And, that's, and we're a little bit different than Nebraska in geography and everything else that's happened. And plus our last 10, 15 years have been a little bit different than theirs.
There's no doubt about that. Now, 6-7 in year one under Brent Venables, right? Do you think, is it just like he needs a little more time, needs to build the roster? Like, how did you see that first season for Coach V?
I think all of that, and I knew it would be tough with the number of players that left our program for different reasons, whether not just transferring, but also graduating or moving on to the NFL. All right, and then you got new coordinators both sides of the ball. There's some growing pains there, and I obviously that showed, and I believe Brent. I got total confidence in him, and it's a little bit different when Lincoln came in. I had walked out, and the whole system though was there in place, ready to go, right? And there's some differences there. I'm not taking anything away from at all what Lincoln did, but or minimizing Brent's challenges, but he had more challenges, and I believe, I believe in him. I believe in his staff, and he just needs time, and no one wants to hear that, but I believe they'll be much different this coming year.
What were if you can remember back, what were the differences for you? And I know record-wise is obviously massive, but whenever you took over at Oklahoma, there was a ton of transition, like just kind of like what Venables had, players, coaches, everything. When is the point where it starts to come together? Is it 18 months? Is it what's that timing look like?
Yeah, well, for us, it was that second year. Obviously, we went undefeated, and we were 7-5 in the first season. And truth be told, I don't really feel Brent was very far off. When I think our last 4 losses were by a field goal in the last, late in the game, and so we're a couple plays away from, having a similar first year that we had there, in '99. But I believe this year they'll be a much stronger team. I think I really believe that overall. Guys are used to their system now and have experience in it. I don't follow all the recruiting and the portal stuff, but it sounds like we're much stronger overall when you look at the roster, and that matters. Players ultimately win and lose games. You guys have heard me say that a million times, that ultimately you're going to win and lose, not us as coaches, or not me as a head coach. You guys make or not the plays on the field, and I believe they'll have a stronger units in every phase coming up this year.
Another year for Drake Stoops. How about that?
Yeah, that's exciting. I'm happy for him. It's all whatever whatever, it's his life, whatever he wants and whatever he wants to do. And he was back and forth on his decision, but ultimately thought this would be positive for him moving forward, and wanted to come back and do it one more time.
Yeah, I'm fired up because I think he's one of the leaders in that locker room. Coach, just one more thing I want to ask you about, and then let you get out of here. How's the tequila business, man? How's rock and roll going? Give us all the updates. What's going on?
The rock and roll tequila is moving strong. We're in, I think, over 40 states right now, and Texas is just opened up in Texas just a couple months ago. So it's moving. It's rocking and rolling, as they say.
I was thinking maybe you guys should get Creed going, but he may take you guys right out of business, man. You turn the lights out.
Yeah, that's a good point. We may have to talk to Creed about being one of our spokespersons.
The Rock's got his own tequila, a little tequila competition between you and ownership. I like it.
Yeah, that's why I don't think I'll be getting a rock and roll tequila bath if we win a game here this weekend.
That's smart, Coach.
I'm not getting in his lane. You can be sure of that.
Yeah. You'll just stick to the football piece of things, Coach. You're the man. It's always fun catching up. Best of luck this season, and Ted, we got to get down to a game, man. We got to go watch the Renegades.
Welcome anytime you want. I'll take care of you.
All right, Coach. You're the man. Thank you.
All right, Gabe. All right, Teddy. Appreciate you guys.
Bob seems so happy doing the XFL stuff. I love it, man.
I know. It's awesome. And, it's funny to hear him say, like, yeah, I may have looked at the NFL a little bit differently now that I'm kind of know that it's all just football, right? I'm glad he didn't.
I don't think Coach Stoops has any regrets because the man, his career at Oklahoma resulted in him having a giant statue out front, which is,
Right.
the guy's got a statue. So, but there's got to be a part of him that's like, God, I should have coached in the NFL. What was I thinking?
I know. Headache
It's so
free.
much different.
So much different. But it's cool to hear from him.
All right, let's finish up with our winners and losers of the weekend. But first,
Bishop McGuinness Catholic High School represents a tradition of educational excellence in Oklahoma City. Grounded in a faith-based education, students prepare to meet their potential with an individualized academic path that strives for success. Bishop McGuinness offers a college prep curriculum that includes 22 AP courses, participation in OSSAA athletics, where they've won over 100 state championships, and numerous clubs and organizations for students to join and grow. If you want to provide the best possible educational and spiritual development for your children, contact Bishop McGuinness Catholic High School or visit bmchs.org. Financial aid is available.
and attention business owners, you need Insurica in your life. Insurica is one of the country's largest insurance brokers with 30 offices throughout Oklahoma, Texas, and the Southwest. Insurica is able to customize programs by accessing the latest information from many insurance carriers. They compare and contrast coverage offerings and pricing in order to design a cost-effective, comprehensive program to meet your business's specific needs. Insurica's clients become best-in-class businesses by working with Insurica's team of advisors to manage risk. Purchasing insurance is only one way to protect your business. Best-in-class businesses win by avoiding a loss in the first place. If your business partners with Insurica, you'll save huge amounts of money and take back control of your total cost of risk. I'm an Insurica client, and you should be too. If your business wants to be best in class, connect with Insurica at insurica.com. That's INSURICA.com. As always, Ted, kick us off. Who do you have as your winner of the weekend?
Well, I got to bounce back and go right to the XFL Arlington Renegades.
Okay, were you all in?
Yeah, I watched. I was back and forth. I watched a big portion of it though.
I had Big 12 basketball main screen, Arlington Renegades on the iPad.
Yeah,
I'll say this, man. I loved the broadcast. That was awesome. I thought they did a great job.
I was going to mention that it's interesting. Whenever you can hear the play call going in, you can hear the quarterback in the huddle. I like that. I think it just gives you a little bit of perspective into what's going on. I also don't think that they should just overwhelm us with that. Just a touch of it here and there is cool. And maybe even you just kind of limit it until after a successful play and you go back and catch the review or something. But it's cool. I think it offers a little bit of insight in there, and having the play-by-play call, those guys able to kind of explain what's going on. It's pretty cool.
I liked it. How about our buddy Cole Kublik, like just getting all the way up in there after scores and stuff? I loved it. He was like, because he can go on the field and like grab those guys. I was like, get in there, Cole. And he was not being shy about it. I loved it.
I can you imagine? They should get like an Olympic sprinter that can like chase guys down and have the microphone as they're running downfield. What do you think? How you doing? It'd be great. It's cool though. I thought the coverage was awesome. The fact that it's on ABC, like their TV deal, that's the most critical factor. You have to have a good TV deal. And the fact that they locked one in that's really solid, I think it's got a chance to help the league. Now, is it going to flourish? Is it going to make a ton of money? Is it ever going to overtake the NFL? I don't think so. But the first thing you got to have is some type of staying power, right? And they've at least got that to maybe keep this thing going long enough to get a little bit of foothold.
And this is going to sound weird, but being able to hear the play calls for me and then having McElroy there, because the guy played quarterback at a really high level. Now, not a Hall of Fame or anything like that, but the dude knows what he's talking about when it comes to playing quarterback. To hear him explaining what the concepts were going to, it made it feel very professional.
Yeah.
Right. Just hearing like me hearing 300 jet and being like, oh my God, I haven't heard 300 jet in a long time. Like stuff like that. It was, I don't know. It made it feel, it didn't make it feel like semi-pro. It felt very professional. The broadcast was really crisp. It was really well done. Like I thought, you know, the Renegades offense needs some work. There's no doubt that defense bailed their ass out in that second half, and they had themselves a half, man. Couple
Yes,
pick
they
sixes.
did.
You kidding me?
Couple pick sixes, furious comeback there. Yeah, and I agree with the broadcast. It kind of offsets if you were just to watch the XFL and you didn't have some of the like the ABC, the commentary, and like being able to explain what's happening, like you said, makes it feel real professional. Like whenever you see some of the other rule set, people may just scoff at it as, this isn't real football, right? Look how they're doing the kickoffs. Look at these 2-point conversions and 4th and 15 try, which all of these things are things that the NFL has tinkered with and actually held votes on whether or not they want to implement. So, but you're right. I think there's a risk with some of these drastic differences in rules of people not maybe giving it the credit that it deserves.
Yeah, it just I liked it. Right. Any time I can get a pick six, thick six, sign me up. And it was cool to see Jeff Badette have a big game for the Vipers. It was cool that Jordan Smallwood had that big catch down the sideline for the Renegades. So there was some OU flavor in there, and that's always fun. But the real question is, Vegas scores the touchdown late, decides to go for 2 in the tie. Ted, you got to go for 3 in the win there from the 10. Come on, what are they doing?
I don't know. It's almost easier from the 10, isn't it?
It expands the field a little more. It makes you defend a little more space.
You defend some space, and from that distance, you can actually maybe check it down and have a chance to run for it. Yeah, that was interesting, but it's also, I don't know. What do you think about this? If they would have gone for the 3 and gotten the win, how do you think that's viewed? Is it viewed as that's amazing that you can do it, or do a lot of people like totally shut that off as being able, you know what I'm saying?
I think it would have been viewed positively. I think it would have been like, oh, that's kind of cool. You have a chance to go to like get a 3-point conversion and win the game. That's one hell of a roll of the dice. I think that would have been them going for 2 in the tie and not getting it was not a huge talking point, right? After the game. If they would have gone for 3, converted it, and won the game, a bunch of people would be talking about like, hey, this is kind of cool. Look at what happened in the XFL. I think it would have been a good thing. Now,
they were talking about the point spread the whole time too, which was cool. And they had it posted up there on the score ticker.
Yeah. The gambling's a very real part of what they're trying to do from a broadcast perspective.
The more people that gamble on it, the more people that watch it. There you go.
Yeah. So I would say from everything I could tell overall, like that was the first XFL game of this new version of the league. And I was pretty impressed with and also the game was quick, man, which that's it. That in my book, that's a really good thing. So I liked everything about it. Yeah, I want the best players in the world playing football. There's no doubt. Like that's why I watch the NFL. But I thought overall pretty impressive first go round for this version of the XFL.
Yep, I like it, and I'll say it again. There's a bunch of really good football players out there that are not on rosters. Obviously, there's a difference between the NFL roster and the XFL, right? But these aren't weekend warriors. These are legitimate, top of their field defense, Division I football players for the most part, and some smaller schools guys for sure. But these are guys that have had opportunities in the NFL. Some of them have played for a long time in the NFL. Other guys just can't get over the hump to get on a roster. So They're good football players for sure.
Yep. All right. Who do you have as your loser of the weekend?
Oh, so brutal. OU hoops. My goodness. Is it that? Well, first of all, I wanted to go with this. I thought about going with this, and I hope you're not one of these people. The group of people that think that DK Metcalf thing is real.
That video, this is the thing about DK Metcalf. He's such a physical freak that you can believe that it's real almost.
Right.
But it's like the Tom Brady stuff.
Yes.
Right. It seems like he just hired Tom Brady's production team.
Right.
But he's such a physical freak that it makes you think it could be real.
The amount of legitimate people that think he casually has a 72-inch vertical to one arm a ball, just hanging out on a field, is crazy to me.
Whoever made the video, whoever edited
it looks great.
Yes, whoever did that, fantastic work.
It looks great.
Because it was all over Twitter.
You're right that if it's anyone else, it's a flat out fake. But he's such a freak that there's a bunch that still think it's real, but I don't know. I thought that was interesting. So back to the original OU hoops. Brutal.
Pain. The drought to end regulation. Pain. Now, got to the free throw line some at the end of regulation. Missed some important free throws. But Sherfield's shot to send it to OT was awesome. What an individual play. The scramble of that entire sequence.
Kind of like a double clutch three. That was awesome.
You blow the layup. Somehow Hill comes out with it, gets it out. Sherfield makes something happen, sends it to overtime. But in overtime, just some brutal turnovers, man. It still had a chance at the rim.
I know.
Right there to send it to double overtime. Poor Sam Godwin.
Such a hard game to watch. That streak there that you talked about at the end of regulation, whenever who was it that hit the 2 threes for Texas there that just woke that place up? Probably 3 minutes to go or 4 minutes to go.
Jabari Rice had himself a night.
Man, that place was bumping in there. But man, I hate that. This team they're not even on they're nowhere to be found on the bracketology right now, which, record wise you understand, but they're not that bad. Oh my gosh. They're so close to being a solid tournament team. I hate it for those guys, man, to fight that much and against some of the best teams in the country and just come up barely short. It's brutal.
Yeah. Didn't help. What's the best way to put it? I strongly disagreed with Tanner Groves' 5th foul.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
I thought that was a flop. And who knows how the end of that game ends up working out if he's available for the Sooners, because he was actually doing some good things in that game. But they've lost so many close games.
It's crazy. Yeah. Painful.
I saw quite a bit of we went through football season with all the, the 3-point losses. And now it's like basketball season's the exact same thing.
It's tough, man. I hate it for those guys to fight, scrap, claw that hard and to just continually come up that short. But I don't know, to go into their house, number 6 team in the country, and take them to the wire like that, force overtime. It tough to do, but to hang around and fight the way that they did, I thought it was impressive.
I agree, but also at the end of regulation, hit some shots, guys. I know it sounds simple, but first of all, get some quality shots, take good shots, take care of the basket, value the basketball, and don't go 8 minutes without a field goal.
that's become a staple in OU games, that there's going to be a long stretch without a basket.
That just shouldn't happen.
No, it's tough.
Man. All right, let's finish up with my winner and loser. But first,
John Vance Auto Group has been serving Oklahomans for 40 years. Family owned and operated, and they got 9 full-service dealerships in Woodward, Miami, and Guthrie. No matter what your vehicle needs are, John Vance Auto Group has you covered. They carry domestic brands: Ford, Lincoln, Chevy, Buick, GMC, Chrysler, Dodge, Ram, Jeep, and Wagoneer. John Vance Auto Group's goal is to give unequaled service and to exceed customers' expectations in every way, which is why they have their lifetime loyalty program. And here's how it works. You buy a new or used car from them, all you have to do is get all of the manufactured recommended maintenance done at the Vance dealership. And if something goes wrong with the components of your engine, transmission, drive, axle, or transfer unit, they will cover the repair costs. It's a great deal. You can browse their entire inventory or find the John Vance dealership near you at vanceautogroup.com.
And First Fidelity Bank is a full-service financial institution based in Oklahoma with tailored solutions for all your personal and business needs. Checking accounts, saving accounts, home loans, and much more. They do it all. Whether it's online banking from your computer or mobile banking from your phone, everything is stress-free with FFB. Making mobile deposits, paying bills online, and moving money to different accounts could not be easier. People, make your life easier and go bank with First Fidelity Bank. Visit ffb.com for more information. All right, for my winner of the weekend, thought about going with Kansas basketball. You talk about a tale of two halves. My goodness, Baylor came out on fire. Cryer, Flagler, George, just flamethrowers shooting the basketball. But got to give Kansas some credit, man. Weathered the storm and then absolutely blew Baylor's doors off in the second half there at Allen Fieldhouse. You can say what you want about the refs in that building. Hey, they ain't making a 55-26 difference in that second half. That's what it was, 55-26 in the second half there between those teams. Ted, Bill Self, they may not be the deepest squad. They may not be as deep as they were a year ago. That's a damn good basketball team, and that was impressive. That second half, I was sitting there going, oh, my God, like they beat the hell out of Baylor in that second half.
That's been fairly common for them this year. Struggle out of the gate a little bit, maybe go down, sometimes even go down big, and then really put it together as the game unfolds there. And that's been another thing with Kansas teams recently. Get better and better as the season rolls on and kind of hit their peak right there towards the end of the regular season as you start to get in some of the conference championship games and then the tournament.
Yeah, I just trust them more than any other team in the Big 12 because Bill Self has done it time and time again. So we'll see, but it should be a fun finish to Big 12 basketball. Just wish OU was in the picture, man.
No.
Just like anywhere like relatively close to the picture. Dead last.
But
my winner of the weekend, Mac McClung. Full disclosure, I had zero interest in watching Mac McClung in the dunk contest. And I remember his dunks when he was in high school. I covered a bunch of those games when he was at Tech, right? Because I got to talk about him on my Big 12 show. Like, I've watched him play a lot. But I wanted to see the star players in the NBA participate in the dunk contest. I want to see Zion. I want to see Ja Morant. Like, those are the guys I want to see. But Mac McClung changed my mind real quick, Ted.
Crazy.
Real quick.
Yeah.
What a damn show that dude put on. How cool was that, man?
Super impressive. And what I loved about it, it was just to the point. Here's what I don't know. I'm a slam dunk contest enthusiast. I watched them when I was young. Me and a friend had basically every slam dunk contest ever like recorded on VHS tapes and knew what happened in all of them. And all I don't care about a damn cupcake. I don't care about what you're wearing. I don't care about you driving a car out on the floor. I want to see how high you can jump. That's it. Like, take everything else away and let's see who's got some real hops. And that's what it was. There was no gimmicks there. It was just straight up getting up off the floor. Now, I will say something needs to be done about the old basketball in the back of the shoulders thing. It's cheating. All right. We gotta change that rule. But right now, other than that, I guess I don't have much of a problem with it, but he was spectacular.
Ted Lehman, unimpressed with Mac McClung jumping over two human beings and tapping
you
it
know
off
what
the
they
glass.
do? They use it as like they push off of the ball to get more air and then grab it. That's why they're setting it on their shoulders instead of just like holding it in the air like this.
Okay.
So that's the only reason I say that that's cheating. It's still like, you got to fly to be able to do that. I understand, but they're getting a little extra push. It's like jumping off of like a pommel horse or whatever.
Did you ever participate in a dunk contest?
Not like an official one, just like one at Fort Gibson High School.
I could have sworn there was like an urban legend that you won a dunk contest in cowboy boots at some point. I could have swear I heard that story from someone.
No, I dunked a mini ball from the free throw line though.
I believe it, dude. People.
I'll just tell you right now, and now I was a sophomore because I was as tall as I am now whenever I was a sophomore, and I was like 205 pounds. I could fly. Like that's all I cared about was how good could I dunk. But the heavier I got, the more difficult it became to pull off the same maneuvers.
Yeah, no, believe me, totally know what you're talking about there. But as far as Mac McClung in the dunk contest, right? That dude put on a damn show. And I don't really care that he's been a G League guy and he's only on a two-way and it like just happened right there at Philly. But I really think it's one of the greatest dunk contest displays we've ever seen. And there are a couple of reasons why. He's a small white guy. You just don't expect a small white guy to be able to do that stuff. Like, let's just be real. That's just the truth. So there was a certain wow factor because of that, right? But the thing that made it one of the best I've seen, I think he made every dunk on the first try.
Yeah. Critical.
Which is like, so the wow factor was like, oh my God. And it was every single time. So there was never, oh, we missed it. Okay, try again. It never happened. So it was incredible. Yeah. Now, was it Vince Carter? No. But it was, I feel like it's as good as we've seen in a while. It's the most, like the Aaron Gordon and Zach LaVine, like back and forth ones where those guys are insane.
That dunk contest does not get talked about. It's like 10 of the greatest dunks of all time in that dunk contest.
But
nuts.
But just the way McClung looks and him getting it on the first try, you're just like, this is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's like, I heard this kid maybe has something, and then it's just like, oh my, yeah. You can never recreate that moment if you don't nail the dunks because no one knows exactly what's coming, right? And it's just, yeah, it was awesome. Really cool.
It had to be one of the coolest nights of his life.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
Because all the best players in the NBA down there on the court just losing it, watching his dunks. Like Dr. J handed him the trophy. Like the guy's played in like 2 NBA games in his career.
It's crazy. Yeah.
And it had to be the best. It had to be a surreal experience for him.
Here's what's crazy. You know, he's going to be a household name after that, right? That's what happens. It won't shock me if he makes a roster. They want people that want to come out and see well-known names. You know what I'm saying? It's like, even as weird as that may sound, like something like that may end up getting him a spot on a roster quicker, or, you know, maybe if he was never going to do it like that, that's something that you got in your back pocket that not a lot of other people do.
Dude did a 540. It was pretty sweet.
And then kept going after he finished the dunk. He did a full another spin before he hit the ground.
It was sweet. I do wonder, like, him doing what he just did, what type of effect that has on big name guys. I don't know how many NBA stars want to enter the dunk contest and then lose to McClung. Like, I don't know if that's something they would have signed up for, but hey, that was awesome. That's the most fun I've had watching a dunk contest in a while. And I basically base it off the players' reactions, and all those dudes were going insane.
Yeah. Whenever you clear the benches and you get everyone walking around out there on the floor, that's whenever you know you've done something. It was awesome.
Yeah. All right. For my loser of the weekend, I thought about going with any OKC Thunder haters. A lot of Thunder content, a lot of Thunder love coming out of All-Star Weekend there in Salt Lake. Ted, we had Giddey and Jalen Williams in the Rising Stars game. Shea sitting courtside. Now, we're recording this before the All-Star game on Sunday night. I'm sure Shea's going to have a nice performance in that one, but really, Giddey's jacket, the coat, the fur coat, and
I didn't see it.
You didn't see it?
No.
Pull it up on Twitter right now. I need your unfiltered reaction to Giddey's his fit walking into the Rising Stars game was top notch. I believe he called it the boldest thing he's ever wore. So that's probably all you need to know before you see it. And then Shea was sitting, well, I think it was for the dunk contest and that stuff. Did you see that that Oklahoma City Thunder leather jacket he had? I was so jealous. I could never wear it, could never pull it off. But everyone's talking about the Thunder's fashion choices, Ted. That's exactly where we want them to be.
I typed in Giddey fur coat, and it didn't show his. It showed all of the memes making fun of it.
But hey, listen.
Bright blue, is this the one I'm seeing?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. A blue fur. Got to have some confidence to rock that, man.
Dude, I think for him, it looks great. I would be laughed out of the arena if I wore something like that.
There's only one way to find out.
That guy can pull it off. That's pretty cool. The video I'm watching has it like in slow motion, you know. It's funny. That's awesome.
But yeah, a lot of Thunder coming out of All-Star Weekend. So the haters struggling. But my loser of the weekend, we got to figure this out, man. The Eric Bieniemy situation. What are we missing? Right. And I know, listen, there is a very clear there is a very clear disparity when it comes to white coaches and black coaches in the NFL. Right. That gets talked about a lot. But I just don't, like, this makes no sense. This is a guy that is now a 2-time Super Bowl winning offensive coordinator who is now leaving Kansas City to take an OC job with the Commanders. Right. And it's not like Ron Rivera has has a ton of job security right now. It's almost like a make or break season for him in 2023. So how is this guy not a head coach? And I know he's getting the assistant head coach title there in Washington, but this isn't a promotion. Like, I just don't understand how Eric Bieniemy is still an offensive coordinator. Like, what am I missing, man?
I have no idea.
It makes no sense.
Because it doesn't make sense, but the fact that it doesn't make sense kind of makes it make sense. Because, and I don't know what it is, but there's something there. There has to be something there. Because it's not like he's getting passed over, or it's not like there are black head coaches that are getting jobs out there. And if we're saying that he's the most qualified with what he's done with the offense at Kansas City, then it wouldn't make any sense for anyone to get that spot over him, right? Does that make sense? Like, I just don't. There has to be something there.
He has been, and I saw this from Roger Sherman, he has been interviewed 16 times by 15 teams. Like, I get that it's Andy Reid's offense, right? And he's running the show. I get that. But Bieniemy is way more qualified in my mind and proven compared to some of these coaches that just got jobs and have been getting jobs. I just don't understand that's there has to be something.
Has to be something. And I don't know what that something is.
It has to be more. And I know, like, there's got to be, is it something in his background? Like, I don't understand.
I don't need, there's something there. I don't know what it is, but there's something there. There's a reason. Like, either he's got like a really bad reputation in the industry, or there's some skeleton in the closet or something there. Like, I don't, because it doesn't make any sense. Like, this is exactly how the league works. If there's a team that has a ton of success, like, you hire that coordinator. That's how it's done. And that's how we've seen it be done. I mean,
and we've seen guys, whether offense coordinator or defense coordinators for Andy Reid, get head jobs. Like, we saw, and Matt Nagy's back there, and I assume he's going to be the next OC now for the Chiefs. But Matt Nagy got his chance in Chicago. Doug Peterson has gotten multiple chances. He's an Andy Reid guy. Like, the only difference I can think is those guys are white. So that's where it seems like with what he's accomplished, like, his race should be irrelevant. Right. And I know that
well, yeah.
I know we're living in the real world here, but it's just like, it makes no sense.
I would be shocked. I would be shocked if that was what the actual motive is. Like, I can't, whenever he's interviewed at 15 places, he's interviewed 16 times. Like, I just, like, if he interviewed one place or 3 places, I could buy it. But 16 times, like, he's interviewed 16 times, but for some reason, like, he's the guy that can't get the job because of his, I can't buy that.
All I know is he's leaving arguably the most talented quarterback ever in Patrick Mahomes. And he's leaving Andy Reid, one of the brightest offensive minds we've seen in football, to go be the offensive coordinator for Ron Rivera, who may lose his job next year. And their plan is to start Sam Howell at quarterback.
Why is he making that move?
I don't know. That's why everything about this is, like, makes no sense to me. Especially, you look at their offense, they're going to start Sam Howell. The offensive line is not good. They got to rebuild there. They got some dudes at wide receiver. Scary Terry is that guy's a stud. Dotson's a stud, but it's just nothing about this adds up to me. Like, and you can say, hey, well, the NFL, they just, not a lot of black head coaches get hired. But this is, like, out of all the black coordinators in the league, I mean, this is the guy that should be hired.
That's what I'm saying. Like, DeMeco Ryans walks in and gets a job like that in Houston with a ton of fanfare, like, everyone is on board. Like, I guess what I'm saying is that I'm not saying that it happens enough, but it does happen. And if it was going to happen, you think that the guy that has the credential list of Eric Bieniemy, like, that's why I'm saying, like, there has to be something else. Like, that's, I don't know.
I think when you look at,
they've been talking about this with him for 5 years now.
Yeah.
And, like, if that's like the open, ongoing narrative, like you would think that it wouldn't continue to happen just to this one guy. And maybe, and I'm not saying it's just to this one guy, but I don't know.
It's one of the more confusing things.
Yes.
Like when you think about the coaching carousel in the NFL, like Urban Meyer got hired in Jacksonville to be a head coach. And meanwhile, Eric Bieniemy is having to leave Kansas City, I guess, to go prove himself in Washington, that he can do it without Mahomes, without Andy Reid? Like, is that's got to be his line of thinking here. Is it like, hey, I got to get away from Andy Reid because apparently no one thinks I can be a head coach because he's the one that's calling the plays.
And Andy Reid is like his biggest like supporter. He gets asked about it all the time, and that's why I'm saying that I feel like there's something there, because there's too many people in his corner. There's too much conversation about it. He's interviewed too many times. There's got to be something there. I don't know. Perhaps not. It's a shock.
I've heard him speak publicly. Guy sounds really good. Guy can really talk ball. I don't know. I've talked to guys that have played for him in Kansas City. They all really like him. Attention to detail. Like I don't know, man. It's one of the most confusing things in the last five. Like it may be the most confusing thing when you talk about the coaching carousel in the NFL the last 5 years. Well, that Cliff Kingsbury got a head job after failing at Texas Tech. That was something. Meanwhile, Bieniemy's just it's truly perplexing. I don't know.
But Kingsbury won 6 games with Mahomes at Tech.
Yeah. Just I hope Eric Bieniemy goes to Washington and crushes it and gets a head job so that
it may get that job.
This madness can end.
He may get that job, but I don't know. Is that the one he wants?
Yeah, and that's another thing. You're leaving one of the most stable and like well-respected organizations for Washington. Don't forget Dan Snyder. I know he's taken a step back, right? Is it his wife or his daughter? One of them is running the team and it's kind of like the face now, but it has been dysfunctional for years. And Bieniemy said, yeah, I'll take that. That's the one I want. Give me Sam Howell. What?
Don't know.
It makes no sense.
Wish I had any theory. I was going to say a better theory. I don't have a theory at all. I don't make of it. Yeah. I don't know what to make of it. Yeah.
On that note, episode 293 in the books. We'll have a new podcast that'll drop Wednesday. Just a reminder, you can hear Teddy from 3 to 6 on 94.7 The Ref. You can hear me from 2 to 5 on Sirius XM Big 12 Radio, channel 375. Hope you all have an awesome week. Until next time, we appreciate y'all for listening. Do what you always do, Oklahoma. Take care of each other.